Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new here, hi, I'm your host. And today, we are going to be discussing the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Now, there have been many versions of this legend over the years, so today I will just be discussing the basic story and how it has evolved. There will be a lot more details in the upcoming videos, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So let's begin with the very beginning. How did Arthur become king? Well, he didn't exactly have a typical royal upbringing. You see, Arthur's father was Uther Pendragon, the king of Britain. However, at the time of Arthur's birth, Uther was in exile in the kingdom of Northumbria because his rival, King Vortigern, had taken the throne. Apparently, Vortigern had stolen it from Uther, and so Uther wanted it back. When Uther returned to Britain, he learned that his wife, Igraine, was being held in a fortress by Vortigern. And so he laid siege to the fortress. But after 7 long years, neither side could claim a victory, and Uther grew weary of the war. So he went to see the wizard Merlin to ask for help. Now Merlin devised a plan to defeat Vortigern, and to do so, Uther needed a son. That's when Merlin revealed to Uther that he had a son, a young boy who was being raised in secret. The boy was named Arthur. Merlin brought Arthur to Uther, and they came up with a plan to defeat Vortigern. Merlin disguised Arthur as a nobleman and sent him into the fortress with a letter addressed to Vortigern. Vortigern saw Arthur and thought he was a handsome young man, so he invited him to stay in the fortress. And then Merlin placed Uther in a nearby wood with a magic sleep spell. And when Vortigern rode past, Merlin changed Uther's appearance so that Vortigern would mistake him for one of his own men. And it worked perfectly. Vortigern allowed Uther to enter the fortress, and while Vortigern was asleep, Uther took the throne and became the king of Britain once again. Now, after celebrating his victory, Uther called a meeting with all the nobles of the land and asked them who should be the heir to the throne. They all agreed that it should be Arthur, since he was Uther's legitimate son. And so Arthur became king at a very young age. He ruled wisely and justly, and his kingdom prospered under his rule. It is said that during Arthur's reign, he pulled the sword from the stone and became the rightful king. Also, around this time, he assembled the Knights of the Round Table, a fellowship of the most noble and valiant knights in all the land. Together, they fought many battles and defeated many enemies. However, not all was well in the kingdom. There were many sorcerers, and their magic often caused trouble for Arthur and his knights. One of the most famous sorcerers was Morgan Le Fay, who was also Arthur's half-sister. She hated Arthur for taking the throne away from their father, and she spent much of her time trying to destroy him. One day, Sir Lancelot, one of Arthur's knights, was fighting against Morgan Le Fay's knights. And while he was fighting, he was wounded. His wound was very serious, and it looked like he would die, so his fellow knights brought him to Morgan Le Fay to heal him. Now, Morgan Le Fay loved Lancelot and she wanted to marry him, but when she went to heal him, she realized that he loved a woman named Guinevere, who was also in Arthur's court. Morgana was furious, so she put a sleeping curse on Guinevere. When Guinevere woke up, she felt no love for Lancelot. Instead, she only had eyes for Arthur. Soon they were married, but their happiness didn't last long. Arthur had been told that if he ever married, his kingdom would fall. And now that his sister had put this curse on him, he knew that his doom was near. He told his knights that he would hold a great feast, and that they should come to it with their wives. When the day of the feast arrived, all the knights came with their wives, except for Lancelot, because he was still recovering from his battle wounds. Arthur waited for Lancelot, but he never arrived. And when Arthur found out why, he was furious. He challenged Lancelot to a duel, but Lancelot refused to fight. Arthur was so angry that he banished him from the kingdom. Soon after, Queen Guinevere was accused of adultery, and Arthur's knights went to France to get her back. While they were gone, Morgan Le Fay returned to the castle and took control of it. When the knights returned with Guinevere, they found out what had happened. Once again, Arthur was furious, but this time it was with Guinevere. He challenged her to a trial by combat, and if she won, he would forgive her. If she lost, however, she would be burned at the stake. Lancelot heard about this, and he went to the castle to save Guinevere. During the trial, Lancelot showed up and saved Guinevere. Then he and Arthur fought each other. Their battle lasted for hours, but in the end, Lancelot was victorious. When Arthur realized he couldn't win, he ran away. Then Lancelot and Guinevere fled the kingdom together. And that is where we will end this video. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up and stay tuned for more Arthurian adventures. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy adventuring.